I know, Sari, you have a lot going on, so I want to make sure that I keep your time. And I'm realizing that stuff that Zoom does this weird thing where it's like uh, it's it's framed in one way, and then suddenly when you go on stage, I'm like, oh, good, I got all the garbage out of the back, and now I look back and I'm like, oh,
I
there's stuff in
know
the
we
corner
were
there.
so careful with the whole
I I
framing
had
of.
everything framed properly, and now I got this in there, and like, oh man, it is less than fun. Um, all right. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Open Water's virtual event, our webinar on philanthropy, titled appropriately enough, How to Give Back Without Being a Billionaire. But before we begin, a quick reminder to visit Open. This is one of many events we're doing over the next couple of months. Please visit openwater.group. That's important, openwater.group slash or whack, whichever you prefer. Events, openwater.group, whack events, to see a list of all our upcoming webinars and in-person events. We'll have those listed, and that's constantly, we're adding to it. So we're booked through through the start of April right now. So we have a lot coming up. And if you're interested in becoming an Open Water member, please fill out the waitlist form at openwater.group because we would love to hear from you. All right. Well, this is going to be fun. We're talking about this right now. We are going to be having a really a great time, an important time, because we have as our guest today, Sari Lomelin, the CEO of Philanthropy Together. Sari, welcome to today's webinar, and thank you for being a part of this. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Chris. I am thrilled to be here and thrilled to be talking to all of you and those of you that are going to be listening to this event, on the weekend, on your free time. So we hope this is going to be fun, informative, and that you are going to have some great ideas after this to take action today.
Yeah. I should also note that in addition to being a fantastic guest, Sari is also one of the founding advisors to Open Water, which is how we were able to access a stellar person such as herself. So I want to start with the quote that sort of inspired this chat for me, which is those who wait to do a great deal of good all at once will never do anything. And I think that really resonates because I think a lot of people feel like, oh, I need, like Bill Gates or Warren Buffett, or, once I have a lot of money, then I'll give a lot of it away, right? But that seems to be a not great strategy because there are a lot of things that can happen right now. What's the easiest first step for people to start doing good and giving back from where they are right now?
I love how we started talking about this. And yes, many times I talk to friends, to dear friends that I have known them for years. And when you ask them, hey, what are those? Are you supporting any causes? Are you giving some money to some organizations? They're like, oh no, I'm not there yet, right? I am not that rich. And it's like, yeah, you don't have to be that rich. You certainly don't have to be at a certain age or at a certain point in your career, right? I know Open Water, we're catering to, the adults in this world, but to be a philanthropist and focusing on the um, basic, meaning of the word, which is love of humanity. You can be a teenager, you can be in your 20s, you can be starting your career, you can be 40, 50, 60, 70, any age. And you can do something for your community. What are the best and easiest steps? It's just look around you. Like, you don't have to look, to what is happening in another country, to what is happening, at the other side of the world. Like, I can assure you that if you go out of your door, you start walking around in your community, you are going to see something that you want to change, or something that inspires you to get engaged, right? And it's not only about giving money, but it's about how can you use everything that you are as a human being, as a person, to really be generous in your core, right? This idea of radical generosity. Um, think about when you are driving and somebody lets you go first and you feel good, right?
Yeah.
When you get to a building and someone opens the door for you, or someone has, just a kind moment with you, that is something that it doesn't cost anything, and we don't have to wait to a certain age to do. And Chris, interrupt me here because I can talk too much. But in terms of of giving, right? Um, Again, we don't have to be in our late 60s or have an enormous amount of money to give. It's not about um, the amount of money that we can give, is the intentionality and um, the transformative things that can happen even with a small gift, not only for the person that you are giving that gift or the organization that you are giving that gift, but for you. I mean, someone said that giving is the most selfish act in the world. And it is, right? It is.
Right,
Giving
because
is
it makes you feel
selfish.
good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Makes you feel really good when you do something nice for someone.
So let's narrow that down a little bit, right? Because I know that you talk about so one, I never known that philanthropy is love of humanity, right? Like I just never bothered to think about it. Like philanthropy, oh, that's doing good stuff. That's giving stuff, that's giving money away, right? But I love that it's sort of a broader context that I think people can connect with, right? Like if it's not in a bank account, it's just, I love humanity. I want humanity to succeed, right? So we all sort of have that same end goal. But so I think one of the things we talked about before are sort of the 5 T's of giving. And I think that really helps narrow down what you're talking about, right? You don't need a big bank account to do this. Can you talk about those 5 T's and how they're used in philanthropy?
Yeah, so everybody, when you talk about giving, everybody thinks money, right?
Yeah.
Treasure. You're giving your treasure. Yes, that is one of the 5 T's. The rest of the T's, time. You can give your time as a volunteer. You can give your time as a mentor. You can give your time by becoming a board member in a nonprofit organization. You can give your time by registering people to vote on a weekend. You can give your time by going and reading, at a senior uh, home. So that's the second T. Then you can give your talents. All of us have many, many talents. You are a lawyer, you are a journalist, you are a writer, you are an accountant, you're a marketer. All those talents are in deep need in nonprofit organizations. Because sometimes, we think, okay, I don't have time to go and help with the food pantry over the weekend. Well, but maybe you have time if you love how to, build databases. You may help that food pantry with a process or a program that can help them manage, their inventory better. So think about those talents that you have. Also, you may speak 2 languages. That can be very useful for, to give to clients of a certain organization or to your neighbors or to, someone in your life. So that's the third T. So we have treasure, time, talent. Then we have ties. Each of us is part of different networks, right? We are, part of for example, you and I are part of the Open Water Network, right?
Yeah.
We are part of our neighborhood association, or our high school friends, or et cetera, et cetera. So the doors that we can open for one another,
Yeah.
those are huge.
Yeah.
Sometimes you may not be able to give a big donation to a cause that you're passionate about, but you can open a door to someone that can to give the big donation. Or you can open a door to, for example, imagine that you work in a big tech company and you really care about, having more children being, studying STEM. So maybe you can offer to have a site visit for those kids in middle school in
Yeah.
your company. Imagine what will ignite in those kids to be there in the middle of your company, to feel that they could be working there at some point.
Yeah.
That is huge. So
Yeah.
ties, opening doors for to opportunity, etc. And then the 5T is testimony. It's your voice, it's your story. And each of us, have an incredible story that we can use to elevate and to maximize the story and the missions of the causes that we care about, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes you support an organization that is close to your heart because of your life experiences, or because you grew up with X, Y, and Z. So how can you use your voice to do that? And it can be also, using your testimony could be something as simple as follow the organizations and the causes that you care about on social media. Talked about them when you are with your friends on Saturday night. Like, say, I am supporting this org because of X, Y, and Z, and you should do it too. And then, I know we talk about 5 T's, but someone just told me, like, oh, you're missing a 6 T,
Oh boy.
and it's truth. And it's your truth, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you can share your truth. So, anyway, when you think about giving, it's very important to think about the holistic way to give. And the head of TED, Chris Anderson, just published a book called Infectious Generosity.
Okay.
And it's about, this ripple effect that when you do something nice for someone in your 5 Ts or your 6 Ts, something is going to happen. And there's, a ripple effect of generosity that at the end of the day, that is what we all need.
So I
And
know, oh, sorry.
yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
So just to
Please,
just no, I know it's not a quiz, but I'm gonna see if I can get them back to you. Time, 5 T's.
yes,
Time, treasure. These are things everybody has, right? Time,
everybody has.
treasure, talent, ties, testimony,
Yes,
and truth if you want to throw
yes,
in the sixth, right? So everybody, oh, look at me doing a little thumbs up there. That's great. That's a
yeah.
yes, that's exactly what, yes, we we love it. Um, that's a great place for people to reframe sort of philanthropy as something other than writing a check. There are lots
Totally.
of things, as you've listed, that's a really great place for people to start because that's something they can do. Anyone can do right now, one of those 5 or 6 things right now.
Totally. Yes.
That's great. But you sort of focus more. So with 5, 6 T's as sort of a framework, you've built Philanthropy Together, right? Which is built around the idea of giving circles. Can you talk about what giving circles are and why they are so powerful?
Yes, totally. And yes, we focus on collective giving as a whole, and collective giving is people giving together, right?
Uh-huh.
So, yes, Philanthropy Together was born out of we're the brainchild of more than 100 people that were involved in collective giving, in giving circles around the US. And the whole idea of a giving circle is literally a group of people with shared values, a shared set of values that gets together to create change. And first of all, yes, to have a giving circle, you need a group because this is not solo philanthropy.
It's not a giving point.
It's not a given point, and it's about being part of something that is bigger than yourself, creating a sense of belonging. And the other day that we had the event, our first event for Open Water, our in-person event with Chief Conley, I was, amazed because it was a very rainy and cold day and everybody showed up. Why? Because we are hungry for community and for belonging, right? To,
Yeah.
to have this sense that we are part of something and it's bigger than ourselves. So you start with that. You and I can be very different, have very different backgrounds, even think politically on, both sides of the spectrum, but we may share some values that will help us get behind a cause, even if we have very different perspectives in something else. So the whole idea of a giving circle is also to find those things that we have in common instead of focusing on our differences, right?
Yeah.
So you get this sense of belonging. That's number one. Number two, you create a space for discourse. So this group that gets together in a social way, it can be, around a table. It's great to do it around food and wine and, just camaraderie. Um, we discuss and we, you know, talk about what moves us, what are those causes that we care about. And we learn from not only from those causes, but from one another, right? I'm going to listen to your perspective, you're going to listen to mine. So it's a great exercise in democracy and civic engagement and civility, because we learn again to learn from one another as people and to understand where you're coming from, right? So we're going to pick a cause that we care about. We are going to talk about different organizations or initiatives or projects around this area that we care about. And then the third part is that we're going to give together, right? So instead of Chris giving, $500 to this nonprofit, and I'm giving it to this nonprofit, and then, Paul is giving it to another nonprofit, we are going to come together and we're going to give together. So what is that going to result? It's in a multiplied impact, right? We're going to have more dollars, but also we're going to have more of the 5 T's together.
Yeah.
Because, maybe you won't have time to go and volunteer, but maybe I do, right? And maybe all of us are going to elevate the mission of the organization that we're going to support. So with a giving circle, you engage beyond the money. The whole idea is that this is not a crowdfunding campaign. There's nothing wrong with crowdfunding,
No, hey,
but
look.
how many times has your cousin, your friend tell you, oh, Chris, please support my campaign? You go, you give because your cousin told you to give. 5 minutes later, you don't even remember what you donated to,
Well, I
right?
cut off communication with all of my family, so I don't need to. I don't. I don't have that problem. So okay. So I think I want to get to some other things, but if people want to start a giving circle, what should be their first stop? Like, I mean,
Just find
it could
your
be like,
people.
it's like, well, should it be Philanthropy Together? Like, do you have do you have materials for
We
people to do
do.
that?
Yes, totally. Totally. I think, the first thing that I would say is just do it, right? Like I'm here like advertising Nike, but just do it. Don't get in your head saying this is too difficult, I won't be able to do it. Yes, if you have organized a dinner in your house anytime, you can do this. So we at philanthropytogether.org, every single program that you see there and every single resource, video, etc., is for free. So please go and use everything. We give very fun and dynamic trainings every single month. We have a YouTube channel full of videos on how to get started and a resource library. But also, it's just basically find your people, found two, and don't think that you need to find 20 people. Find two friends or two neighbors that you can rally around, to do this. And then, a little bit of a ripple effect. Everybody gets more people and you get this started.
That's great. What do you think is the biggest mistake? No, we talked about people waiting too long before they give back. When people are giving back, what do you think is the biggest mistake that you see people make most often?
People make assumptions. I think that the biggest mistake is to assume who can give and who cannot give, right?
Yeah.
Because you may be surprised how many times you think, oh, this person can totally give. I mean, they have a lot of money, and they would say no. And it's not that they are saying no to you personally. They're saying no because that may not be their cause. And maybe you wouldn't approach someone to ask to join your giving circle or to go and volunteer with you on a weekend because you think they don't have the time, they don't have the money, and they may surprise you. So never assume. And again, don't overthink it. It's very simple. This concept of collective giving, of giving circles, is not new. It's not American. It has been rooted in cultures all over the world since the beginning of humanity. Like there are, many, many iterations all over the world. The only thing that we're doing at Philanthropy Together is kind of like putting the spotlight on this kind of model. And there's, thousands of giving circles around. If you don't want to start your own because you're like, yeah, no, I want to get a little taste before. Also on our website, there is a global directory of giving circles, and you can put your zip code, you can put, an issue area that you care about, and you can find a giving circle near you.
I
If you
think
don't
that
find, yeah,
I think
go.
that's really powerful, just the assumption, because I think it falls under the bucket of like, oh, what's the worst they can say? No, right? Like
Yeah,
you just like what? Okay, they say no, then you move on, right? So I think that's a really good point to reinforce with people is just the idea of, well, it doesn't hurt. Like as long as you're polite and you're not approaching, you're being mindful of who you're approaching and what cause you're approaching for or on behalf of, right? Like
yes,
there's what's the worst they can say? They're just gonna say no, and then you go, okay, I'll move on, right?
yes,
That's a
totally.
really good thing.
And I want to add that, a lot of people think like, oh, giving circles are kind of cute. We're not cute. This is a really
You're
powerful
not sitting around
movement.
knitting.
No, we're not. It's not, a group of, ladies sipping wine on a brunch. It can be because it's fun, but there's always, learning and moving good amounts of money. Like I cannot share the new research yet, but the last research that was done a few years ago, they saw that giving circles moved $1.3 billion in the
Wow.
past, couple of decades. So, and this is regular people. Again, we're not waiting for the billionaire to come and, save our community or do something like that. Like this is regular people getting engaged in doing something for their communities. And when we literally shift the power of philanthropy from the hands of a few billionaires into all of us,
Yeah.
we are not only changing who gives, but we're changing how we give and what gets funded. And that is the most important part of all. Because something that most people don't know is that most donations, most philanthropic dollars in this country, 88% of philanthropic dollars in this country go to 5% of nonprofits.
Wow.
So, yeah. And everybody's like, what? Yes. Most of the philanthropic dollars go to hospitals, churches, and the endowments of the big universities.
Yeah.
That, I'm sorry, but they don't need more money, those endowments. So all those tiny grassroots nonprofits that you see, working in all the cities and towns are constantly underfunded.
Got it. That's why I'm having such a hard time raising money for the Save Chris Albrecht Foundation.
Yeah.
Uh, all right. Well, what aside from money, what are some of the biggest needs for philanthropies today, for philanthropic efforts today? Like everybody needs more money, right? Like that's going to be the thing. But is there something else that we don't know about, maybe because you're on the inside, working with it every day? Is there other needs that people just don't realize are, in high demand?
Yeah. This is a toughie because I feel that yes, money, but no, it's not only money, it's how the money is the unrestricted money, right?
Yeah.
Because sometimes we think that because we as donors, we are given the money, we have the power and we know what the nonprofit needs, right? And we get to dictate how they should be using the money. When the reality is, sorry people to tell you, but we don't know anything. We are the donors.
Yeah.
That, the director of that nonprofit, they know what they need.
Yeah.
So let's just be, the ones that say, what are those programs that you want to fund and you don't have the funding
Yeah.
here? And again, and I cannot stress this enough, nonprofits need to pay rent and need to pay the water bill and the utility bills, and they need to attract good talent and they need to pay good salaries.
Yeah.
So if you can give a nonprofit an unrestricted donation that said, you said, for your rent, your salaries, whatever is the best gift that you can give. And I think another thing aside from money that is needed It's again, it's engagement, it's volunteering. There is a generosity crisis going on in this country. There's a lot of polarization. There's less people going to places of faith, right? Like the church, temple, synagogue, call it however you want it.
Yeah.
And those were the places where people found community. So everybody is hungry for that. And then you got, 3 years of COVID and you have kids, looking at a phone the whole time. And not only kids, all of us looking at phones the whole time.
Yeah.
We get, in on the bus or on the metro, and you don't even see other people. Like you go in with your phone, you get out with your phone, right? So we need to change that. Why? Because imagine in 10 years, it's not an issue of just moving more money or not moving more money. Imagine what are we going to do if we have a generation of people that are not empathetic,
Right.
that are completely indifferent to what is going on around them.
Yeah.
We need young people and all of us young adults in engaging again and being outside of our shell and talking to strangers and just again if you like gardening, go to a community garden and volunteer on the weekend.
Yeah.
You will find great friendships there. You
Well,
will
I see.
learn something new. Yes, tell me.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there, but just it keyed in on something else that, in our lead up to this call, we were chatting about things to talk about, and you talked about the importance of networking
Yeah.
in philanthropic efforts. So just the idea of not only if you volunteer at a community garden, right, you're meeting somebody who not only selfishly might be able to help you professionally or with your gardening, right? But it's also just it's on both ends of the equation, right? Because then you develop more ties that you can use to be more philanthropic. But I'm not meaning to put words in your mouth here right now. But tell us a little bit more about like the importance of networking when you're being when you're giving back from where you are.
Yes, I mean, the importance of networking, I mean, and this is coming from a total extrovert, as you can imagine.
No,
No, well, I would put it back to you, Chris, too, because I have
you're on a
seen you
whole
in
different
action.
level.
I have seen you in action. Um, I thrive with people. I love meeting new people. I am, when in those places where they tell you like what is your superpower, I am a connector of people.
Yeah.
If I meet you, I'm already thinking, ooh, who can I connect this with? um why is important to network when you are doing this? You will be able to get a lot more support for that cause that you care about, a lot more. And also, I went to this. I don't even remember the event, but they had a really great dynamic where you needed to sit at a table and you were going to say or offer. You had something to offer and an ask, and they were
Oh
very
yeah.
small tables, 4 people. Oh my God, you cannot believe the magic that has happened after that.
Yeah.
And then, after 40 minutes, you will move to another table. So by the end of our 2.5 hours, you will have had good conversations because it was not like speed dating, like, okay, what do you give? Ba, ba, ba. No, it was, thoughtful and mindful. I mean, I'm in touch with those women and we are already helping each other in different ways.
Yeah.
And as you said, it's not only professionally but personally, but friendships are blooming. And again, it's open water is about how do we create opportunity by creating community, right? And yeah, this is giving circles, people. This is it.
So I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I want to end this chat right now. And first off, I want to thank you again for being here. This has really been just super lovely. And I want to end talking about, and I'm going to kind of mangle this a little bit because I don't remember it verbatim, is, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the writer, obviously famous NBA player, but really a tremendous writer and thinker. I remember a quote from his. I think it was like in an Esquire interview or something like that, where he talked about, when you get up in the morning, what do you think about when you're going to do something for your family and friends, your community, and your world, right? And I may be mischaracterizing that a little bit, but the idea was like, it's okay to do things for your friends and family and help them out, do a favor for them, right? And then how do you broaden that out and then help your neighborhood or your community? And then what are you doing to make the world a better place, right? And so with that as sort of a framework, how do you help people get into sort of, we talk about a growth mindset, but like a philanthropic mindset, right? Where every day it's not just around the holidays that you're giving back, or it's not just when you got a bonus, or it's not just when you got a flyer in the mail that worked particularly well on you, right? Like, what's a way for people to develop sort of a philanthropic mindset so that every day is a day where they find an opportunity to give back?
Love this. I would say um, radical generosity, the concept of radical generosity. And this is something that Giving Tuesday, the organization, kind of put out in the world. I sit on the board of Giving Tuesday, so full disclosure. But the idea of radical generosity is that it's so radical and so in your bones, that is how you live, period. You wake up feeling generous with your time, with your smile, with your kindness, with your attention, with how you listen to people, to everything. And if you try it for a couple, put a challenge. Like, let's do a week that you are going to be radically generous with everything that it's around you. You start building habits. It's building habits. And another one would be, it's very easy to support a family member when they are in need, right? Because it's your family. When you meet a stranger, it could be from a nonprofit that you want to support, someone on the street, whoever. Try to see that stranger in the eyes. The moment you see someone in the eyes, there is a connection of, I see you, you see me, and try to see that person not as a stranger, but as if that person is part of your family, and your whole perspective changes.
Great. That's a wonderful way to end. We're going to encourage everybody watching, both now and in the future, take next week, practice radical generosity next week, and visit philanthropytogether.org. Is that what it
Yes,
is?
yes.
Philanthropytogether.org to learn more about giving circles. And from wherever you are in the country and world, please give Sari Lomelin, CEO of Philanthropy Today, a big round of applause for being such a wonderful guest. Sari, thank you so much. I really
Thank
appreciate
you,
it.
Chris. Thank you. So fun talking to you.
Okay.